What's up, Panda dudes? Peter von Panda here. Hey, want to show you a watch I just bought. This is from Ferro and Company. It's not the first Ferro that I've shown you. So Ferro and Company is a watch company, I think based out of Vancouver, Canada. Cool town. And they're kind of known, at least to me, for kickstarting watches. So they kind of pre-sell their watches on Kickstarter, I think in a great way. But I kind of feel like after the first couple of rounds of kickstarting, you should probably just release your models on your own. I mean, I would kind of think you'd have enough capital built up at that point, but maybe I'm wrong. Either way, I do know, or I've gotten a hint that their next one, their AGL above ground level, I guess, kick-started watch is really beautiful looking. I can't wait to check it out. I don't know if I'll buy one, but we'll kind of see when they get released. But I did buy this one because I wanted to check it out. It's quite a bit different from their other one. Their other Ferro watch I really liked, and it actually kind of stunned me because I got it because I thought the design looked pretty cool, and same reason I picked this one up. But I will say it surprised me to the upside, and I was actually super happy with it. And it actually impressed me a lot more than I thought it was going to. This watch has done the same in a lot of ways. So first of all, it's from their collection, the Distinct single hand, and you can obviously see it's a single hand. Now it comes in a couple of different flavors, like I was saying, an automatic and a quartz movement. And as far as I can tell, the automatic and the quartz movements look exactly the same. I think all of the parts are shared between the two aside from the movement. Now, I think that causes some issues, and I'll point those out, but it's kind of nice because you really have two different price points. The automatic like this, which is about $475, and then the quartz movement, which is about $275, I believe. So you can save quite a bit of money by going to the quartz movement. No one will ever know, right? But for me, I like that automatic movement where available. As you can see here, it's a Japanese movement. I'm assuming it's like a Miyota movement. Nothing particularly beautiful about the movement itself. Nothing bad about it, but it's not decorated up or anything like that. Water resistant to 100 meters with a, I'm assuming like an acrylic or a mineral peekaboo window back here. But the front is all business, and what I understand the design inspiration is like a Porsche tachometer. And so as you can see here, the single timekeeping hand is kind of a tribute to attack, one single sweeping hand. The numbers here are very blocky, almost kind of 80s tech style, which also kind of share a lot with that Ferro logo right there, are like the Porsche font. I guess I didn't realize how flat the Porsche fonts were, flat and sharp they are. They're kind of, I guess, like block letters, because when you see them on the cars, they're slightly more rounded, but that's all inspired by Porsche, I guess, and I can kind of see it. Now, they also come in a couple of color variations, black dial, this blue dial, a white dial, and I've also saw on their website that they have like a copper colored case, which is on sale for 25 bucks less. I like the black, I like the white, but this blue really kind of struck me. As you know, blue is my favorite color, and I was like, ooh, cool. It'd just be nice to have something with a little color pop on it. Now, I will show you, let me show you the shape of the case. It feels great in my hand. It feels like I've got like a Petoskey pebble, and I'm about to sling it onto the lake and just kind of skip it, because the whole thing is very rounded, kind of like a vanilla wafer or something like that. Look how smooth it is. Obviously, it's very polished and showing my fingerprints, and so I apologize for that. But what you can see here is a curved crystal as well. So the whole thing feels kind of like a stone. And what that does is a couple of things. First of all, it's fairly decent sized, 44 millimeters, and that's what kind of sold me on it. I was like, wow, I love 44 millimeter, right? Great size. But what it does is it actually kind of brings the dial in. So it actually, I think, wears and looks a little bit smaller than the 44 millimeters would suggest, right? So it just feels a little smaller because you've got a smaller footprint on your wrist. You've got this kind of big bulbous curve, I think about 12 millimeters thick or something of that nature. You can see the seam right here where the case is, the two-piece case comes together. You can see the wire lugs that stick out. They don't droop down very much. I'd probably prefer them to kind of be a little more aggressive on the angle, kind of like Shinola is, but I think it's part of that is exaggerated because of how thick the case is and kind of how round it is, that even though they are drooping down, they just never get below or they never get to the lowest point of the watch there. And if we look at this, I think it looks great. I will try to describe the blue. Obviously you can see it, but it's kind of a little bit like electric blue. There's not a metallic, pearlescence or anything to it, in a traditional sense. But it's a little bit shiny. It's really smooth, kind of like the outside of a Trapper Keeper or a nice folder. Like I said, there's no pearlescence or flake in the color, but it's smooth enough that it has a pretty nice shine to it, right? I mean, you can even get a little bit of reflection off of it, kind of. But the blue is just really, really beautiful. It kind of reminds me of, I can't remember what they call it, but like Laguna Seca blue on the BMWs. Obviously, this is a Porsche-inspired watch, so references to BMW are highly frowned upon. But I think it just really works, and it's kind of unique in the watch world. And so the beauty of these micro brands is you can find some things that are really, really unique. Now, the single hand makes telling time kind of easy and kind of difficult, right? So it's really just having an hour hand on a watch. You can use the same movement, you can use any watch movement, you just don't put on a minutes hand, right? Because the hour hand is also telling you the time to the minute. So, for instance, 6 o'clock here, 7 o'clock there, we have kind of longer, I should zoom in there for a little bit. We have the longer white lines for every 15 minutes. We have a couple of intermediate minute markings there that you can break that down even further, so you can kind of see it's just after 6:45. So one of the things that you have to be a little bit patient with and kind of forgive the single hand watches for is kind of a general time, right? So if you are really trying to be very precise, you run from meeting to meeting. If you are like a railroad conductor or an air traffic controller or something that really needed precise timekeeping, I would never use a single hand timepiece for that. I mean, it would be catastrophic, right? But if you're kind of like 99% of America, just like the rest of us, and you got to be at a meeting at 7 o'clock and at noon or 6:30 or whatever, or even on the 45s, right? Every 15 minutes. I mean, these are going to be more than adequate for it. So I do like it. It feels good. It feels nice and weighty in the hand. And we have a kind of an onion style crown with the Ferro F on there too. Well, one thing, now here's where I'm going to get to my issue, is that if you look at the date window, and I don't know if it's just on mine here, and I may be obsessing just a little too much, that 18 is pretty well centered. But because I think they use, so in the date window at the 4 o'clock, right? So the 18 is pretty well centered, but I can kind of see that 17, I think, kind of peeking out the top. And it doesn't seem, at least to my eye, that it's perfectly centered. Now, I don't expect Breitling precision here, so I am almost trying to find something a little bit nitpicky, but I feel like the 18 is just a little bit too far to the starboard. I feel like the hole should maybe be a little smaller to block out the next number. I actually wouldn't even mind if it were blue colored date plate, so it blends in a little bit better, but I actually think that the white background looks pretty good. I wouldn't mind if the numbers were in blue, to tie it in, but it is what it is. I have a feeling that it's kind of a compromise between the quartz and the automatic movement here, though, right? So because they're not exactly the same, I'm just wondering if the date plates in the quartz and the automatic movements are just even slightly different. And so it's kind of, to keep consistent single dial manufacturing process that, works perfectly for one or perfectly for the other, or maybe it kind of splits the difference. But again, it's a really nitpicky thing, but that's kind of the only thing I was calling out there, because it kind of makes the top of the the date window look a little dark when I can kind of see that black ink peeking through a little bit. It's also part of the way the lighting is here. You know, that 18 is sunk much lower than the dial, so I'm getting a little bit of a shadow. But very forgivable. Let's just be honest. I mean, I'm really impressed with this watch. I love the blue. I love the design style. It feels great, and so I'm being overly nitpicky, and you can flame me for that. But that's just the only thing really I noticed about it. So, really, really cool. Now to change the time, obviously, you'd unscrew the crown here. And I actually really like that kind of long, slender hand. It does kind of remind me of speed influences. And as a car guy myself, I really like all things car. Now, you unscrew the crown, and then let's see what we've got here. Maybe in that first pop-up position. Okay, so I can feel it winding the movement right there. So kind of in the first release position, you can feel it winding the movement. And then counterclockwise in that first pull-out position, I can change the date. And then there's another position afterwards, and this is where I can adjust the time. And you can see it moves pretty nice and smoothly there. And then push it all in. Oops. Try not to let the watch get away from you. And screw down the crown again. So, works just like you'd expect. Now, I really like this watch. I think Ferro does some nice stuff. The other watch that I have from Ferro is a Mecha Quartz, which I do like. Obviously, you know, I'm slightly partial to automatic movements too, so it's just nice to see them, you know, offering up kind of different price points, different movements. I think that's a really nice service to customers like us who maybe want this style but don't have, you know, the pocketbook to afford a $500 splurge, but really want the look. So it's kind of nice. Does it dilute the kind of the cachet of the watch when you know that there's a quartz and an automatic movement available? I don't know, maybe a little. Leather band, black. I think it looks great. It says Ferro there, genuine leather. I think it's a 22 millimeter that tapers to like 20. Maybe wrong about that, but I think that's what it is. And then the Ferro silver polished buckle right there, sandblasted in logo. Just really nice. I'm digging this thing. I think it was a good buy. You can. I don't have any relationship with Ferro. I don't have a discount code or anything like that. But I think if you do sign up, you know, for their newsletter or something, you get like 10% off. So there it is, the distinct single hand. Peter Von Panda out.